Yeah, wardrobe is the hardest part of this. You guys don't know the effort we put into looking good for these filmings. It takes longer than shooting the thing.
Right?
I do full hair and makeup.
Well, you did get your haircut today.
I did get my haircut today.
A little overly cut.
Didn't go great. Didn't go great.
You've got like the untanned little section right there where she cut way too much.
Yeah, I have like a Trump situation happening here
You do.
where it's like,
It's tan there and it's like white.
yeah,
right there.
exactly. And there's like white around the makeup.
Oh my gosh. Great.
Yeah, I got a real Trump thing
it's
going
real
on.
Shaved.
You can real tell. Yeah, I don't know that I was just not getting a real haircut, just getting the flyaways and the
Yeah.
sideburns trimmed up. So I just went by a local place.
She trimmed them all up.
She trimmed them all up. Not great on the English, but I assumed haircutting terms would not be.
Yeah.
Anyway, here we are. I think actually it'll look just great when my hair is down.
Oh, okay.
It'll probably look better when it's down because it won't be
Yeah.
sticking out and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, but I at least put a lot of work into my appearance.
I did not put any effort into mine.
Okay. Well, you know what? Let's get
Ooh.
into it. We're gonna run and gun.
Yeah, because it's been a busy week.
It's been a busy week. Here we go.
Starting with my Tunisia gig on Wednesday, which I'm sure I mentioned that I was preparing for in the last podcast. It went spectacularly well.
Amazingly well. That was up in Aspen.
Yeah.
Right? Aspen?
At the St. Regis Hotel, which is a very nice hotel.
It sure is.
And, I mean, of course I didn't play every note perfectly. I've made a few mistakes. Like there was
Yep.
a couple songs that I didn't come in at the very beginning of. There was one song I had trouble finding the key of, but in general, I made almost every transition. I played almost every song true to Tunisia's form of that song. I just like played well, felt well, was on top of it.
Well,
So,
and you said the feedback from the other musicians was
it was so positive.
yeah.
It was beyond the polite, hey, great job, thanks for playing with it. It was like people not just saying something once, but like coming up again and being like, seriously, you stepped in and killed it. Like, hope we can play with you again. I'm like, whoa, oh my gosh, so cool. The drummer has toured with a lot of
Oh yeah, he's
good
toured with
names.
like crazy people.
Yeah, the two I remember are Hall & Oates and Chuck Berry.
Chuck Berry,
A long time ago.
yeah.
He's been playing since he was like 18 or 19, touring since then. And he made a point of saying that I have a really good feel, basically. So very complimentary. I just was so proud of myself. I've put in the work. It
all it
felt
is.
like I told you. It felt like winning nationals, in a
Yeah.
sense. Like I've worked a lot of years for this. Recently worked hard. I mean, unlike water skiing, I have taken some time off here and there. That's for sure. But I made a goal of leveling up on bass this quarter, and damn, I have leveled up. Feels good.
If people would have told me when I was in school that homework paid off, boy.
Oh, what a difference it
done-
would have made in
what
your
a
life.
difference it would
Yeah,
have-
that's the thing I have over everybody else is I'm not shy about doing the homework. that's my secret weapon.
Yeah.
Lots of time.
You worked it. I think it's worth saying. There were plenty of days you were in here 6-8 hours a day.
Yeah. Well, I would say there were two main days in that 2-week period where I spent all day playing bass.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
that's what it takes.
so then
And then you stayed. The hotel was gorgeous. You sent me
Oh
some
my gosh,
pictures.
yeah.
Yeah, and so that you
probably
had,
the nicest hotel I've ever stayed in. So that was
and
nice.
so you got a room.
Drove
and
home real early. Got back to my regular life.
You know what? You got home super early, and then we went and tested out the gear. This isn't on our rundown, but we tested out the gear for our first. What are we calling them? Inside track
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Where we're doing let's call it a class, short seminar. I don't know what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a Q. It's like a panel / Q&A
yeah.
session.
So you and I are going to host, and we're going to get inside track, industry insiders to guest. And the first one we have is Tony Mason, and we're going to be talking about booking. Tony Mason is a very well-known booking agent all over. He's booked for a million venues, and he's booked, and the idea is we're going to have kind of this kind of conversation, but with somebody, we're obviously going to let them talk. But I noticed, because I get notifications on my phone, I think 5 people have already signed up for it.
Yeah, I sent out a blast today and told people it was open for registration. And
I kept getting pinged all day.
Yeah.
And what's cool about this, when I say testing gear, it's going to be in person, but then we've got, you kind of devised a setup, and we tested it right after your Tunisia gig, where people are going to be also able to attend on Zoom, and they're going to be able to give feedback, and there's a big LED monitor, and they'll feel much more like they're in the room.
Yeah, there's going to be an audience camera, so the people online won't be just looking at the face of whoever, whatever coach is teaching, and especially since, like, if a coach is teaching in-person people, they're not going to be facing the laptop.
Right.
So there's going to be a camera facing the audience. Actually, we should probably get a camera facing the teacher. I think about that. We should get one more camera.
Yeah, I was thinking we're going to do that September 9th.
Yeah, it's on Monday.
And we should give ourselves a couple hours to like set up. It's going to be the first time we're doing it. We might want to experiment a little and really run the levels.
Yeah.
Eventually, it's going to become a thing where we'll get the process down enough that maybe we won't even be involved.
Exactly.
Another teacher might do these things.
Yeah.
But I was so excited to see that, like, you just announced it and 5 people already.
Yeah.
So I think this is going to be a winner. Although Tony Mason, boy, everybody's going to learn a lot from him, because there's, he's the, one of the bigger booking people. So raced back from Aspen, we did that. I had a recording session, and then I had rehearsal. Normally I rehearse on Tuesdays. This band was rehearsing Thursday. Just kind of conveying how packed this week was.
Yeah. Then the next morning.
And then the next morning we had rehearsal with Tyler Bender.
Who is a Colorado Public Radio radio announcer. But he's also our first or second call drummer when Joaquin can't make it.
Right, for Petty Nicks.
Yeah.
And he's an audio engineer. And we have a gig in Pebble Beach, California, basically Monterey.
Yeah.
I mean, when they talk about Pebble Beach Golf Club,
we're staying at the hotel.
that's where we're
there.
Yeah. It kind of came up last minute,
it was
but like
fairly late. Yeah.
Pretty recent. So we're going to California to do that. Joaquin can't do it because it was last minute and he's already booked. So Tyler's stepping in. So Friday morning we had that rehearsal. Everything went great, I thought. Ari's also on that gig. Ari's our...
yeah, we had to rehearse First Time Ever I Saw Your Face by Roberta Flack.
Oh, right.
Which is like a 5-minute super slow ballad. I'm sure you know it. It's gorgeous.
Right.
But it's very long. And it'll remain to be seen how well that fits into our set. So
we don't know when we're doing it, but
it sounded really good. Then we had a gig that night at the Buffalo Rose. And we have some things to say about that gig.
Oh, boy. So we raced out of rehearsal, raced to the Buffalo Rose. And boy, first off, here's an interesting thing. We hadn't thought about it, but it was Labor Day weekend. So it was a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
Which is always hard to sell tickets on a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
In the summer, at least. In the last weekend of summer. So everybody's doing stuff. It sold great, but not amazing. Which we usually,
250?
Maybe, I think 3.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty good.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
And, but the energy of the crowd was amazing. That golden crowd, they are there for a good time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, from note 1, they were like, yeah.
Yeah. Good thing, too, because they had to carry us through Free Fallin'.
They sure did.
when the engineer had to reboot the mixing board.
So the entire PA went down. So everything on stage that wasn't making noise of its own, meaning guitar amps were making noise, bass amp, drums were acoustically making noise. The keyboards went away. Most of the guitars went away, other than my guitar, and the vocal mics weren't working. And the crowd, I have to say, they almost seemed excited.
Yeah. They sure filled in.
They jumped right in, and we just kept playing, and they were just singing
Yeah.
super loud.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're all panicking. And then when he brought the board back up, I guess none of the stuff was saved. So then the monitors needed to, so when it did come back, it was all, nothing was
Julian's
set.
mic was super hot and it was like burning him.
Yeah.
In effect, I mean, he would like approach it and it would squeal.
Right.
But he was good. He made a show of it. Like he kind of
He really
acted
did.
it up, which made it kind of a piece of the show.
That's why I call him the natural.
I
He
know.
just knows
Yeah.
how to and he did, and that was one of the things was like when we realized that stuff was going wrong, and I've said this before, he didn't pretend like nothing went wrong. He acknowledged it.
Yes.
And that
Oh
changes
my
people's response
gosh.
so much to just go we also know this isn't going well.
Right.
We're not
Right.
stopping, but trust me, we know. Whereas
Yeah.
it's very awkward to be
Yeah.
like, I don't think these guys know that no one can hear them.
They're singing in the mic and they pretend like there's
Yeah.
sound coming out.
And that feels
Yeah.
very awkward, but if somebody's like, yep, not working,
Right.
come on, sing.
Yeah. He did so great with that.
He's the natural.
Oh my gosh. And then there were ghosts in Brian's keyboard.
Oh my
That
gosh.
was a weird one.
So something with the vibration, I think he was saying when he would hit the sustain pedal.
No, it's when he would hit the keys.
Oh, it's when he would hit the keys?
Yeah.
Well, that's important.
That's a problem.
But it would change the patch.
Yeah.
So, meaning, patch means, a keyboard can make a bunch of sounds. It can be like a piano, and then it's a harpsichord, and then it's an organ, and then it's violins. And so he's hitting it, and apparently the vibration of him hitting it was causing it to switch to different instrument sounds.
Right. So he ended up having to just play it with one hand and then use the other hand to constantly put it back on the patch it was supposed
He
to
was
be on.
just like, every time it would change, he would hit it down. Brian Stacks, everybody.
I didn't notice. I didn't notice half of this stuff going on because of the way I run my ears.
Right, because you just have your voice piped right in.
And that is why I do it. Like,
Yeah, that's why
it doesn't matter what goes down. I can hear myself.
That's why, even though I'm going direct to the PA, I always carry my own monitor
Yeah.
because, who knows? And, that's just one of those things that happens. But the second set, I thought was,
It was great.
it was great.
Yeah.
And people seemed to have a great time. And then we left good old Buffalo Rose and Golden, which, oh my gosh, is it nice to have a 12-minute drive
Yeah.
home from a gig. It's right near our house.
Yeah.
Anyway, then I at least had to get up and go record with Caitlin Klickman. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if this was a miscommunication or if I just messed up and spaced the information. But as it turned out, Hazel Miller and Coco Brown were coming in to sing on Caitlin's song, and I did not know that. At least as the session was starting, and I was getting all prepared because I thought, oh, we'll get this lead out of Caitlin, and then we'll move on to this song. And then they showed up, and it was Hazel. If anybody doesn't know, Hazel, which if you don't live in Denver, you don't know, but in Denver, Colorado, yeah, Hazel Miller is I would say legend.
Yeah.
I mean, she's, big deal. She sang with Big Head Todd. Has a million stories. She almost got a gig with ZZ Top. I don't know exactly the story,
that's
but
right,
yeah. And she's been around forever and is just she's a legend. She's everybody. And Coco Brown, unbelievably talented. Coco is Hazel's main backup singer. and kind of harmony genius and stuff. And boy, I had to get on my toes real quick because I was not. I didn't. It's a song where I had orchestrated a bunch of the harmonies using Melodyne, which is something I'll do with someone who isn't necessarily great at harmonies. What I'll do is I'll have them sing the song, and then I will pitch shift the vocal to make a 3 or even 4-part harmony, and then we've got the parts.
And then you just want them to sing that part.
And
so
then-
it's a normal voice.
So it's like
right.
we know what the notes are going to be.
Right.
You know, it sounds a little weird and robotic, and that's why you need someone to sing it. Although you also want someone with the soul and timing and whatever of Hazel and Coco. But we had a great session. I mean, it was only 4 hours, but we just but boy, was I hustling to get my head back into how do these parts work together, because I thought we were recording another song, and I had to really quickly go okay, let me think about key, let me think about melody, where we, and we'd reharmonized a few things, and it just had not been on my plate in like a month, so I had to really quickly go and Hazel's right up to the mic, and she's like, what am I singing? Tell me what I'm singing. And I'm like, give me a second. Anyway, so we did that, and then grabbed a great Snarf's sandwich, and headed down to Colorado Springs.
For Boot Barn Hall.
Yeah. And here's where I was getting ahead of myself. Not only is it Labor Day weekend,
Right.
there's Boot Barn Hall in the Springs, and then maybe, I don't even think it's half a mile, it's a short walk. They have built this very large amphitheater, and who are we competing with for ticket sales on Saturday night, Labor Day weekend? It's Robert Plant and Alison Krauss.
Yeah.
Literally next door to us. If you were walking up being like, where do I want to spend that? Oh, Robert Plant. But luckily we did great, and it was a wonderful charity for a really good cause.
The Alzheimer's Association.
Right. I would absolutely recommend checking out what they're doing. It seems really amazing. And the crowd there, I have to say, again, really enthusiastic. We got there.
Yeah.
When we started, people were still sort of eating and networking and talking and all this stuff. So it wasn't, but...
And it wasn't packed as full as normal because of the competition with Ford Amphitheater. You were saying this was the first time you've heard the back of the room.
This is the first time at that venue, and oh my God,
Meaning the slap back of the sound, right?
Because usually the room is full, and I know it sounds like I feel so bad sometimes saying stuff like that, but usually that room is full, sold out, and you don't hear the slap back because there's no bodies in the room. And this was the first time we've played there where I could hear the back of the room, I could hear the echo on the back of the room.
Yeah.
Man, I have to give Shane, who is the sound guy down there at Boot Barn Hall, he's run sound for us a bunch of times now, and he's meticulous about saving the settings. And so, oh my gosh, his sound check just
It's
nothing.
so fast.
He's, you hook everything up and whatever, and then he's like, all right, maybe play something. And you're like, well, that's 98% there.
Yeah.
And then I think he had one thing that was patched weird from another gig, and he fixed that. And then, we sound checked for a total of, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We didn't, I don't even think we ran Petty songs. We ran the
Roberta Flack song.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, and we ran some Elton John tunes. We were saying we should start
Oh
just
my
calling random
gosh.
tunes.
I think I'm going to follow through on that. We're going to
Okay.
do that. What we're going to do at Soundcheck from now on is not check songs from the show. We're going to say, here's the 2 or 3 songs we're going to do for Soundcheck.
So we just get to play some other songs.
So we just get to play some other songs. We're just going to do Yellow Brick Road and,
Yeah.
whatever. And just, I think it would be really fun to just,
Yeah.
that band is kind of dialed in. So, why not have some fun at Soundcheck
Yeah.
and just do some tunes you don't normally do?
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And then, gosh, since we were in Colorado Springs, we were lucky enough to get some time with some of our best friends, Brian Stacks and his wife Andrea Dree.
Drea.
Yeah,
we stayed overnight in a hotel and got up in the morning and
gosh.
Again, forgot that since it's Labor Day, everyone and their mother is going out for brunch.
Yeah.
So we tried to find a place to eat, and it took us maybe 2 or 3 hours to actually get into a restaurant and eat food. So that was our entire morning.
Yeah.
And then the next Labor Day mishap was we had made plans to meet Brian and Dree at the top of this long winding road that leads up into this beautiful area west of Colorado Springs, and we were going to go for a hike from there.
Right.
Well, that's what everybody in Colorado Springs was doing too. So there was a lot of traffic, there was nowhere to park, and to top it off, there was no cell coverage at the top, so we couldn't communicate with them to figure out what our plan B was.
Right.
So we were lucky enough that we could find a place to park on the side of a road, kind of like down a dirt road past where we planned to meet.
Right.
But we didn't know if they parked at the next parking lot down and they were walking up, or if they were late, or if they gave up on it, or if they parked and hiked, or what. Like, we just didn't know where they were.
You really forget in this day and age how much we rely on being able to...
I know. So
Yeah.
we waited for 20 or 30 minutes, and then we hiked down the road about a mile to the next parking lot to see if they were
Right.
there. And they weren't, and then we hiked back up a mile to the parking lot where we originally planned to meet, and we waited there for a little while, and then we finally started just hiking.
Yeah.
Because we're like, well, obviously we're not going to catch up with them. And then once we got high enough, I got a bar or
I know,
two.
that was what was so funny is,
I know.
like, we could have just... If we would have thought of that...
I know. You know?
Yeah.
So
But...
then we called. They had been waiting for us for about an hour, way down the hill, because they couldn't find a place to park at all. So we went down the hill.
there was just nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
there were people waiting for, like... Yeah.
It was just nuts. So we went down. We ended up going for like an hour hike that was like along a creek. And then we went out, but we went out to dim sum at Yellow Mountain in Colorado Springs, in old Colorado Springs City, or old Colorado
Oh
City.
my gosh. And I've never been anywhere like this place.
It was a tea house.
If you get a chance, go to Yellow Mountain in Colorado Springs.
Amazing.
So it's a tea house, and they do this thing where they, they have like maybe hundreds of teas.
Yeah.
Like all kinds of things, like traditional things, and then like fruit things, and medicinal, and all this stuff. And they have all these jars, and you can open them up, and you smell them and stuff, and then you pick the ones you want, and you go to the table with your literal jars of tea. And then someone comes over and brews it for you, and then you you share it with the table. Unbelievable price too, $5 a person,
Yeah.
and then you got essentially, if you wanted, unlimited tea of like 3 different types, because they can just keep pouring over it. And we had like a chili chocolate.
Yeah. A chili.
Chocolate.
Was it chili chai chocolate?
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yeah, and then this
So chocolatey.
blood orange thing, and then
intense
a
flavor,
intense
and
flavor,
and a pomegranate one.
and a pomegranate black tea, which was just, the flavors were great, and just, and you have the little tiny cup, and you just like try a little bit of
Yeah.
and then they have dim sum is sort of like Chinese tapas,
Yeah.
where it's just like little bites and little rolls and stuff.
And the sweetener for the tea is blackberry leaves.
Oh my gosh.
Dried blackberry leaves. They are so sweet.
They don't use sugar. They have crumbled up blackberry leaves. Not crumbled to powder, but like crunched
They're
up.
dried.
Yeah, dried and crunched
Yeah.
up. And you put them in the little bowl cup thing, and then you pour the tea over it, and wait a minute, and it sweetens the tea.
It was just such an experience. It was so peaceful and different and flavorful.
Yeah.
And calming.
Yeah.
Loved it.
And just, I've just never been to, a place that had that variety of stuff to try, and then
Yeah.
the food was great. It was
Yeah.
really cool experience.
Oh, and while we were there, I got a call from 2 of the guys in Concan.
Oh, that's right.
I got a FaceTime
Yeah.
from the drummer and the lead singer they went out on a boat that day, and they caught me up on the deal with their nemesis, one of the other original band members who's trying to prevent them from ever playing anywhere. But they have some lawyers now, and they're negotiating, and they're trying to come to some kind of agreement so that they can continue to do the Lost 80s live tour, which I joined last year,
Right.
which they weren't able to do this year. So the promoters still want them on all of the dates. If they can iron this out, I don't know how many dates that'll be, but it's their 25th year next year, so it might be the last one, and it might be kind of a blowout. So
Yeah, that's pretty exciting. That's pretty great.
we'll see how it fits in with everything else I'm doing.
That is
Jeez.
becoming the thing. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. There's a
So-
lot of stuff.
That was what? That was Sunday.
That was Sunday,
And
and then
then-
we drove home Sunday night,
Uh-huh.
and
And then you had a gig on Monday.
then I had a gig on Monday. Pretty standard. I would say patio gig, but it was a full band, and they don't actually have a patio. They have a beer garden thing, which is that tiny gravel, and it was so dusty.
Oh,
and
no.
like all of my stuff is, I like literally need to go to the studio and like
Oh.
wipe down all the cables, and all my
Oh,
pedals
jeez.
have like it was
Oh, I'm so sorry.
dry, and there was a little bit of breeze, which was great, except it was kicking up dust all over your stuff.
Yeah.
And you're just not on the ground, but you're like not up. So
Yeah.
it just was like, I would say the main thing about the gig was, I will reiterate my absolute antipathy for playing rock and roll music in the daytime.
How do you spell antipathy?
Well, I don't know, but I bet Nate knows. Antipathy.
Very good.
Yeah. We got more spelling bee content for you. I know you've been just dying for it. We got more spelling bee content. I just, man, and it was nice, and gosh, the people at the place were so nice, and the band is cool, and the audience was nice. But it was hot, and it was like we were playing like noon to 3 or something.
Woof. In early September in Colorado.
Yeah, and it's definitely like punk rocky kind of music,
Yeah.
and just no one wants that. It like,
Monday afternoon of Labor Day.
yeah, it's Labor Day, Monday afternoon, and like,
Yeah.
this is like Buffett time. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
not,
Yeah.
and so it went fine, and everybody was great, but it was like, it did feel a little like, what are we doing? But I did it and got it done, and I have to shout out Julia, who ran sound. She runs sound at, she's on the crew at the Fox in Boulder, and
Oh, nice.
a couple other venues around town, and
Cool.
she'll pitch in and run sound. Very professional. I will
Great.
find her last name. So anyway, speaking of spelling bees,
Yeah, well, apparently Nate and Aurora found a bar that does spelling bees.
a
Last
bar
week.
that does spelling bees.
Or at least did a spelling bee.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's
And-
like trivia.
And Nate took second.
Took second.
And he told me the word that he lost on. I would have lost on it too. Ophthalmology or ophthalmologist. I can't remember. Did you know there's a silent L in that word?
No, of course not.
Right? I mean, ophthalmologist. You hear that one L. There's another L. Ophthalmologist. No. No. What is this English with the silent L's? Okay. So anyway, we've decided we all need to go out and go do a spelling bee at a bar, all of us. And I said that you would make fun of the nerds. You'll have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I will not have fun losing at spelling.
You're a good speller.
I'm a good speller if I see it written down.
That's
I'm
all I do is I
not-
close my eyes and I try to imagine it.
Yeah, I'm just not good at visualizing that way.
Oh, okay.
You've got one more thing coming up this week we should probably talk about.
Yeah, so I was patting myself on the back while we had dinner before the Buffalo Rose gig, and our keyboard player now, well, at least our first call keyboard player is Ryan Skiles, who plays for Mannequin, and he's played for them for a long time. He's actually, I think, a musical director of Mannequin, because
He definitely is.
he makes
yeah.
all the charts. So I was just, because I was really proud of myself for doing well at that Tunisia gig, and I was talking about it, and he said, "What are you doing Wednesday?" And I was like, "Playing with you." It's not a gig, it's just a rehearsal, but they do have some clients coming for a few songs. Mm-hmm. So he put me on the rehearsal. So I've been practicing a bunch of Mannequin tunes the last few days,
Right.
and that's tomorrow. So
And that is tomorrow.
yeah, so by the time you hear this, depending on when you get around to editing this one and releasing it,
Yeah.
I might be playing with Mannequin at a rehearsal.
Yeah, just jamming.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you really, I think you mentioned feeling like you've sort of leveled up, to use that term
Yeah.
again,
Yes.
in your ability to
The songs are going into my head so much more easily. Like, Mannequin has, they have some songs where they do specific riffs, where the whole band does a specific riff together.
Yep.
And I'm finding it much easier to, like, put those into my memory because
Right.
they make sense musically, not just by ear. Like, I've always been good with melody, but sometimes if I haven't heard a song enough times, the melody doesn't just pop into my head. So I need that active recall of, like, this is a descending major scale starting on the 5 in the
Right.
key of D. Something like that. Like, that stuff is, like, it's much easier for me to identify now. So, like, when I see a riff, it's not just memorizing it by ear, which is what I have always been able to do, but now it's more easily being backed up by the music theory or the musical context behind it. So that's the kind of thing that is really helping back up the learning that I'm doing now.
Right.
So, like, another example is the song "I've Got a Feeling," I think it's called. Yeah. Hooked on a Feeling. Hooked on a Feeling. The bass line of that is, it has a lot of 4 and 5 intervals. Do 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 do, and it's very specific.
Yeah.
It's one, like, I think it's one where if you thought, oh, I can play this song, I can play off the chart. Like, here's something that works. It's very easy to find something that works for the song,
but it's not
based
the
on the
bass
chart, but
line.
it's not the bass line.
Yeah.
So learning that, I'm learning it both by ear and both by, like, musical logic.
Right.
So I just feel like I'm getting stronger in that way.
Well, that's something we've talked about, that, like, that, I mean, that's just the experience and the, you just kind of, you get better at stuff by repetition.
Yeah.
And that includes the repetition of learning a bunch of new material.
Yeah.
And you just kind of get better at going, like, got it,
Yeah. The grouping of, like, information is getting bigger and bigger. I mentioned this before.
Right.
I'm able to, like, just zoom out a little more. Like, the longer I am doing this and the more I'm shoving music into my brain, the more I'm able to see, like, a bigger picture where now it's getting to the point, or maybe someday soon, it's getting to the point where I can think of a song and be like, it's in this key, it's mostly the same, this and that, except for the end of the third verse.
Right.
There's that riff that's a descending major scale in the key of D.
Right.
Whatever. Like, there's less to remember the longer I do this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was thinking the other day, we were at one of the gigs this weekend, and we were playing something, and I actually paid attention to it, and I was like, I have zero physical sensation, or more accurately, like, no mental sensation of knowing what chords I'm playing. Like, it's obvious I'm doing it, so some part of my brain knows what I'm doing, but I'm not sitting here thinking A, D, D, E, and I was sort of, like, scanning my brain to be like, what am I doing? And I'm just sort of doing it, because I've,
Yeah.
To your point, because it's more about seeing the shape of the song than it being like, oh, first I do this chord, and then I do this chord, and then I do this chord. It's like, no, I have, like, a grasp on, like, the harmony of this song.
Yeah.
And so I'm not thinking about what I'm playing. I'm just listening to everything and following everything that's going on. Mm-hmm. Not that I'm great at hearing stuff the first time and doing it, but you know what I'm saying? It was just a funny thing. Mm-hmm. Let's close this one down.
Yeah.
Speaking of editing.
We gotta eat dinner.
We gotta eat dinner. Yeah. This week we are sponsored by Yellow Mountain Tea House.
in old Colorado City.
Colorado Springs, and any Snarfs you can get your hands on. We'd like to thank the good people at Snarfs for all the money they throw us. And
all the free sandwiches.
All the free sandwiches. I can just walk into these Snarfs. I go right behind the counter. I just start making whatever I want. They're cool with it. They're totally cool with it. And we are sponsored, as always, by Performance High.
Voice and Music Studio.
Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.